Hello, everybody, and welcome to Lesson 11.6. Here we're going to be looking at the Obama presidency with a focus on his first term. Beginning by talking about 2008. In 2008, Democrats and independents were highly frustrated with President Bush. He was seen as a largely ineffective, unsuccessful president. And Barack Obama won this presidential election largely by promising hope and change, that we would change our nation, that things could go better and would go better under the Obama presidency. Now, the Obama campaign was able to raise a tremendous amount of cash, and he did this in a new and innovative way by looking for small donations from a large number of donors. People had thought this would be inefficient before, but now with the internet and more effective campaign strategies, fundraising strategies, Obama was able to bring in just hundreds of millions of dollars in cash. And he raised far more money than any presidential candidate had before. He was also the first candidate to turn down publicly financed campaigns. He was bringing in so much money, and there were limits on how you could spend with public money. So he turned that down, exceeded all expectations for raising money, and became a cash-rich presidential candidate. President Bush was very unpopular in many foreign nations, but foreign citizens loved Obama. He was incredibly popular in other nations, largely because Bush was so unpopular. They wanted anybody who would take America clearly and decisively away from the cowboy diplomacy that Bush had enacted when he invaded Iraq, looking for WMDs and found nothing like the world had told him he would find. They needed something different. And it was partly just in the hopes that Obama would be such a different president that he was awarded early in his presidency the Nobel Peace Prize. Now, most people would acknowledge after the fact that this was probably not a good prize to give to Barack Obama. Barack Obama engaged in war quite a bit during his presidency and had done little to deserve it at the time. This was more of a hopeful prize for Obama, but he did win the Nobel Prize for Peace. Now, the impact of the Great Recession. Obama continued President Bush's efforts to bail out American banks during the financial crisis of 2008. We wanted to make sure that banks did not fail. That was essential. Both Bush and Obama recognized it and worked hard to make sure that that did not happen. Now, Obama has received criticism from both Democrats and Republicans for protecting these banks that caused the problem. Remember, deregulation of banks caused the banks to do some really risky stuff. Some people said that they should have failed, that we should have gotten rid of these banks. But of course, doing so would have had bigger, worse effects on the country. Another legacy of the Obama presidency is our national debt. Now, government spending during the Bush administration was far outpacing government income. Here we have income versus spending. That small dip right there is a couple of years where we were making money. Our national debt was shrinking. But then again, during the Bush years, from 2000 to 2008, it started to tick upwards and then skyrockets with Obama, as the Great Recession takes a lot of cash in order to solve that problem. It just widens that gap. And we are up now above $21 trillion. So this line is somewhere around here. We owe a lot of money. A lot of money. Legislative achievements. With the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, I flipped those, the Reinvestment and Recovery Act, America spent $750 billion on both spending and tax breaks to encourage job growth, to try to get more people working. Examples of this were a lot of highways were built or resurfaced using a lot of this money during this time. The plan had kind of mixed successes. People argue that it might not have been worth the $750 billion, but it did get a lot of people back to work. We also have the Obama health care plan. This is something that he became probably most known for. In 2009, the Obama administration oversaw the passage of a new health care plan that would ensure that all Americans, had health insurance. Critics of the plan have highlighted that it is very costly and it interferes with an individual's right to not have health insurance. That if somebody does not want to have any health insurance at all, that it should be their right. And opponents of Obama's signature healthcare plan did label it as Obamacare, a term that Obama later embraced himself. All right, the Obama years with foreign policy. President Obama's most significant achievements have been in foreign affairs. President Obama was the president that oversaw the end of the Iraq War and oversaw the mission which eliminated Osama bin Laden. He was killed by a mission that President Obama gave the okay for. In 2009, Obama placed David Petraeus in command in Afghanistan, and Petraeus has later moved to the CIA and then later had to resign because of some personal problems. But he did see some success in Afghanistan. Afghanistan was becoming more stable because of this increased attention, but now that we're not so focused on it anymore, it is sliding back into some serious problems, as discussed in a previous lesson. NATO planned to leave Afghanistan in 2014. Those plans had to be put on hold, and the United States of America is still there today in 2018. Libya. In 2011, President Obama supported NATO actions which helped to overthrow the longtime dictator of Libya, Muammar Gaddafi. American planes helped to protect the Libyans themselves as they tried to overthrow this vicious dictator. And until the European allies were able to take over, American planes helped keep the Libyan resistance from being eliminated, and they were eventually able to overthrow this dictator and create a somewhat less disastrous nation. All right, 2010 Republican Resurgence. So from 2008 to 2010, for 2 years, Democrats controlled both the presidency and Congress. And for 2 years, we had a progressive nation again. But in 2010, the Republican Party is able to put an end to progressivism. The Tea Party, which was a Republican movement, a group of fiscally conservative Republicans, helped to push the Republican takeover of Congress in 2010. Republicans and the nation were frustrated with the slow pace of the economic recovery under Obama and were able to retake control of Congress because of that. And many believed that they would retake the White House going into the 2012 national election. Republicans attacked Obama particularly for the slow pace of the economic recovery, but there was positive economic news in the months leading up to the election that really helped Obama. His opponent, right here, was Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney was a moderate Republican, not an extreme conservative, not an extreme social conservative or fiscal one, a very moderate choice. By most accounts, would have made a pretty good president. He represented his party in that presidential election, but he did make several mistakes, several misstatements, things that he should not have said, that in the end probably cost him that election. It was a reasonably close election, but President Obama also won a clear victory in 2012. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed today's lesson, and I will see you next time. Farewell.